What's going on, Reject Nation? We are back at Cinemark today, and we are going to watch A Quiet Place Part 2. And there's supposed to be a Q&A, actually, with John Krasinski afterwards. That's right.
It's going to be all silent.
Privileges. Anyway, we are going to watch this today, and very excited about it. Cinemark, they actually have an option where you can do a private watch party for up to 20 people for only $149, which is a damn good deal. And yeah, but we're going to go see it right now. We're just a bunch of regular folk.
Normies.
But we're influencers. We should have just had the whole theater to ourselves. Don't they know the power of a YouTuber? But I respect it. I think they'll approve this. In all sincerity, thank you, Cinemark. Excited to go watch A Quiet Place 2.
Nice to be back in the theater.
I've heard this movie is amazing, and I hear it's even tops the first one, so let's go into it. We just finished the movie. It was fucking awesome. All right, guys. Well, yeah, we just sat through a Q&A, front row, and because John Krasinski answered our question first out of the social media round. It's the best movie ever. It's like the most perfect movie. I've never seen a movie complaints. Better. It's the greatest thing in the world.
I'm going to throw away my movie collection and buy all copies of A Quiet Place 2.
This is uncomfortable. I don't know how John Campea does this all the damn time.
Especially when there are people right over there.
It's very uncomfortable experience.
I don't want to spoil it for them.
Yeah. We've been back to the theaters a few times, and I don't mean this by any hyperbole in any way. We've been back to the theaters a few times by this point, and going back to this one was like, okay, I really miss the theaters. We've seen a few movies now. I said it not long ago in some other video where I was like, honestly, I've kind of adjusted to just watching new movies at home. I don't miss the theaters as much as I once did. But being back here, and especially with the insane, like they double this should like. This has to get an Oscar for sound design because so much of the storytelling and the shifting of POVs and perspectives all comes down to that. And while I don't think it's a perfect movie, I still think it's probably a better movie. In my opinion, I think it's a little better. But what do you think?
Well, yeah, I mean, it flows really naturally, I thought, out of the first movie, and it does a lot to both add context, but also just really continue honing in on the characters and the anguish that they're going through in the situation. There are a lot of very tactile stakes and whatnot, and so yeah, there are times where, you know, you can tell something will amount.
When John starts talking, the horn starts going off. I'm like, perfect timing on my end.
The wrap up. But you know, yeah, like these obstacles that they have to go through in this world feel very lived in, and even if you can tell that, oh, this thing's gonna factor in later, and I can probably tell how, every time something comes up, the tension is there, and yeah, just the sensory experience of the sound and the way you're cutting in and out of perspectives, especially with Millicent, I'm forgetting her last name right now, but yeah, the
hearing impaired girl.
Yes, the daughter. Like she carries the movie in a lot of ways, but everyone else is also really good and stand out in their performances too. Cillian Murphy is incredible.
Cillian Murphy's really the lead of this movie.
After Millicent Simmons, yeah.
I remember the first Quiet Place kind of gets compared tonally and stylistically to The Last of Us. I'm not going to give anything away, but especially this one, I was like, I'm really getting some Last of Us vibes, so like in so many ways. You know, it's like, that's Joel, that's Ellie, those are clickers. These are the kind of humans who are in The Last of Us. There's a lot of things in here that were and as a guy who's a huge fan of The Last of Us, that's not a complaint at all on my end. If anything, the one little kind of criticism that I kind of have with the movie is it does have this sort of shift over time where it slowly starts just becoming Cillian Murphy and what's her name, the actress's name?
Millicent Simmons.
Millicent Simmons. It's becoming their movie. Okay, yeah, it's hard not to give this shit away. You have like kind of two plots you're focusing on in this movie.
There are points in which you're cutting around to a lot of people in different places.
And in the way how Nolan is pretty good, Christopher Nolan's really good. Yeah, that's the only Nolan you guys know. But the way Christopher Nolan is really good at cutting around multiple events. Kind of like this interesting montage and cutting between parallel times and watching the different scenes mirror each other and watching it unfold. Like, I really feel like John Krasinski mastered his editing game and his structure game, especially. Like, everything on a technical standpoint is just so much more elevated. However, there were times where I was like, oh yeah, Emily Blunt's in this movie. Like, there were times where I would kind of forget, and I thought this would be more her movie, and that's just sort of from an expectation level. That being said, Cillian Murphy is awesome in this movie.
He's terrific, and the relationship between Noah Jupe and Millicent Simmons really does shine. Like, you know, in the first movie, I feel like, especially the son, Noah Jupe's character, does get kind of a bump up in this movie and something to overcome. And yeah, I thought they used everybody nicely still.
And I think it's pretty cool how you have, like, so much of the awareness is like John Krasinski directed this, and Emily Blunt, his wife, stars in this. And sometimes the behind the scenes of that, I think, you're kind of aware of that when you go in. So I think it's pretty cool that it dawned on me halfway through. It's neat that they just sort of let everyone else be the star of this movie.
The kids, and Cillian Murphy due to the circumstances, but it really does feel like they're passing the story along to the two kids.
Like, it doesn't have to be about us, you know? And I think that's pretty neat, how they let that be embodied. There are some real tense moments, some scary moments for sure. And some moments where you can just feel everyone in the theater going, oh, you're like, oh no.
Yeah.
Sometimes the deaths in the film were a little bit like, I know what's going to happen right here. It's going to happen. Yeah, it's like, that was a little bit predictable, but at the same time, I think it's more powerful than for some reason, I thought this was more powerful.
Everything is still pulled together really well by character and story and all the important stuff. And I think, too, maybe compared to the first one, this is a more patient movie, too.
It's very deliberate.
Like, there's definitely tension, there's definitely some jumps and stuff like that, and some monster mayhem, but it, as a film, is pretty patient, pretty deliberate, and it definitely takes its time, and it's kind of a laconic movie. Like, there's a lot of stuff that's just spent studying the actors' performances. It's very intimate, you know?
All right, so as I'm doing like a quick chop on this, I was looking at myself going, there was something I was thinking about here, and I remembered what it was, and I didn't know how to properly phrase it without giving any spoilers away. The group that we were with, we all did share this criticism about the film. Early on in the movie, there's this line, it's very early on in the film, this line that's stated about the humans that inhabit this world now, they're not worth saving. So you know eventually you're gonna see the humans that they're referring to. Now, in the moments with those humans, initially it was kind of goofy, a little silly, and overall, like, the movie doesn't really do much expansion or really flesh it out all that much. John Krasinski did say they are already working on a part 3. He said this during the Q&A. Even though initially, like, we all kind of, our group kind of had a little bit of a chuckle when they first showed up and how some of the execution of them was done. I can't say, like, the whole thing about them is faulty, because there's actually some really gripping, suspenseful elements to them as well. Yeah, I mean, I feel like I would want to point that out, that it is a little silly at first. I think the ending is very poetic. Without going into any spoilers at all, when it was wrapping up, I got a little misty-eyed when
they closed the sky beam.
Yeah, and then all the aliens go away.
Yeah, they broadcast the shrill signals into the galaxy.
With the way how the ending sequence unfolds, it's a great visual storytelling that I would love. It's like the one real spoiler thing I would love to go into, of like why it hit me so much in that moment. Of like, damn, that is a beautiful journey they just told right there. Honestly, I liked it more than the first one, and even though sometimes I'd be like, oh yeah, Emily Blunt's in this, I still thought that when she was there, she's great. And the sequences were intense. Bring on part 3.
Yeah. More Jaimon Hansu.
Watch it in the theaters. Watch it in the theaters, seriously. That was the first movie in a long time. I was like, more than Godzilla vs. Kong.
You need the tension,
I was like, I need to watch
of everyone around you wrapped in silence.
Yeah. Cinemark. Private screen, do it with your friends, especially if you don't want to hear people like Aaron going through his popcorn and stuff.
Yeah.
Just rumbling, you know, because like I was like a one popcorn kind of guy, and Aaron was just like,
he poured it out on top of his head at one point and just started like smearing it all over. Yeah.
I was like so obnoxious.
He put some Mentos into a Coke and just let it spray everywhere. I was like, dude, quiet place too. What's wrong?
All right, guys. Well, subscribe, hit that bell, like, whatever. It feels weird to do this. There are people who are looking over at us. We'll see you guys soon. Bye.
They know.